What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode on Code with Annie. Continuing with our exception handling series of videos, in this video we're going to take a look at the throw keyword when you're performing the exception handling along with the finally block of logic. Okay, so last video we saw how using try block we can put all the exception throwing code within the try block, and then whenever the exception is thrown, the catch block will handle that exception, and whatever handling has to be done is done within the catch block. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the throw keyword. So we saw there is a keyword called throws which is appended along with the method name, saying that this particular method is capable of throwing these exceptions. Now what we're going to see is the part wherein we can manually throw the exception. Okay, let me take an example for you. Let's say in employee.java, for example, not employee.java, let's take tech employee. Okay, now what I'm saying is I am passing an age here, correct? So if I try to set the age, okay, and if I give an age 0, okay, it should throw an exception. So what I'm saying is if age is equal to 0 or age is less than 0, negative age integers, okay, throw new runtime exception. Age cannot be 0 or negative. Okay, now this is how you create a exception in Java manually. So this is the runtime exception, right? So you are creating an instance of runtime exception and you're manually throwing it from the tech employee class, okay, to whoever is calling it. Okay, so when I use the throw keyword, basically I am giving the opportunity to the code base to throw an exception when a condition is not satisfied. Okay, instead of the exception arising out of the logic itself, I am manually throwing the exception to state that this is an invalid piece of information that I have received. Okay, now I have thrown the runtime exception, and let's see what will happen here. So in main.java, let me try to do that. Let me try to create the instance. So let me do one thing. Let me convert this back to employee age. I don't want any other exception to be thrown. Okay, so I'm just going to do this, and here let's deserialize. That is fine. Now what we will do here is let me handle that exception here as well. Okay, because my catch block is only capable of handling IO exception and class not found, a runtime exception is a super class, right? I mean, it's a different exception altogether. So let's try to put that also into perspective. Let's say runtime exception, and handling the exception, I'll get the message whatever I was sending from tech employee, which is the runtime exception. Age cannot be 0 or negative is what I am expecting to sit inside exception.get message. Okay, when I get the message of the exception, that's what I'm expecting to see. Alright, now these two exceptions will not be thrown because we are handling everything properly. So this is the exception that will get triggered from the tech employee class when I instantiate it. So let me do that and say employee space employee or tech employee equal to new tech employee. Okay, I have to give a name. Let me give Annie. Okay, and I say tech employee dot the set age method, right? I think is it part of this one? Yeah, this is a public method. Okay. Oh, it's a sealed class. Okay. So that is okay. That should be fine. I should be able to see I'm only seeing get employee name. Oh, because tech employee is an instance of employee, right? So if I do tech employee, now I think I should be able to see set age. Yeah, because the method that we're trying to access here, as I mentioned in inheritance, right, set age is a property that belongs to tech employee, not to employee class. So whenever I'm creating the instance, if I want to access something that is within the tech employee class, I should use the tech employee instance instead of the employee instance. So tech employee space tech employee is equal to new tech employee. Tech employee dot set age. Okay, I can set the age, let's say -5, for example. Now this is expected to throw the error. Okay, let's try to run this. build will be successful because we are catching that exception and we are going to print out the exception here. Alright, see, age cannot be 0 or negative. So the purpose of the throw keyword is to create a new exception from our side and just throw it. Okay, and when you throw it, whoever is the caller will get this information, and if the caller is having exception handling, he will have the try catch block, right? So the catch block will get hold of the exception if you're looking for it, and it will handle the exception appropriately. Okay, so throw will basically propagate the exception upwards towards the caller, and if the caller is not having the handling, it will be propagated further upwards towards the caller's caller. For example, here we have main, right? So main is a starting point. There's nothing beyond main, so it has to be handled here. So if you have nested calling, right? For example, tech employee is getting called from employee and employee is getting called from main, you can have your exception handling at the main itself. So the error will get propagated or thrown continuously from tech employee to employee, and employee will catch and then again maybe throw it back to main. So sometimes certain code bases are written in such a way that the exception handling is propagated all the way, or bubbled up is what we call it in the tech terminology, all the way up to the main class, or all the way up to the point where it all begins begin happening, right? So this is the point it starts off. So this is where it will get handled. Okay, this is the throw keyword. Now let's take a look at the finally block as well. Now I've got the exception, right? Let's say I add finally. So finally is a block which will get executed no matter if there is an exception or there is no exception. Okay, so finally block is a logic. Any logic that you want to have in the finally block will get executed no matter if there is an exception or there is no exception at all. Okay, so in this case we are getting an exception, we don't mind that, but I just want to say that okay, reached finally block. Okay, now if I run this, you will see in additional this line that gets printed out here below this age cannot be 0 or negative. You'll also see this one getting printed out because the finally was executed. Yeah, see, reached finally block. Now let's say there is no exception at all, only try got executed and successfully there was no exception thrown. So for that, let me change it to, let's say, set age 10. So no exception should be thrown now. But still your finally block will be executed. So finally is basically the block of code which is executed no matter the circumstance, whether exception is thrown or not thrown. So these are the two keywords that I wanted to talk about in this video. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, do hit the like button, subscribe to CodeWithAni if you haven't already, and I will continue with the Java Fundamental series in the next video. Until then, you guys take care. Bye-bye.